Kale Stephens is superhuman. He's an unstoppable force of nature, that guy.
He's gnarly, he's burly, and he's like a wrestler on a snowboard.
Stocky, really strong. He was just that little kid from Collingwood that ripped.
Man of many nicknames. The Bloblin, the Slug, Cheese Block.
From the time he was like basically born and could move, he could crawl up on anything. Like I came down one time and found him sitting on top of the fridge and he was like just over 2 years old.
From the day I could stand up, my brother had me standing on my skateboard in the kitchen, and
he was always like the first one to really excel at any new thing that came out.
And snowboarding was the first thing to, it's like skateboarding on snow, right? So it was automatically like, I want one of those.
But when it first started, they allowed 50 snowboarders on the hill and they gave them a really hard time. So yeah, it was kind of my job to defend the snowboarders coming out through the years.
I still remember my very first run. I kind of couldn't turn or nothing, but you just stand up and point it, and I just started doing bunny hop methods, just like jumping up and grabbing my edge. And I guess it was the season after that, we found out there was a snowboard competition about 40 minutes away at this resort called Talisman.
Once he entered the competition, the first competition in Ontario, and he started winning everything, it was like, well, we'll take it as far as you can go.
We went to 4 competitions that year and I won every one. Not that there was a huge field of competitors, but that just got me really stoked on it. And at the end of that season, I was approached by Ralph Geronimo, who was the Sims rep at the time. He's like, hey kid, you want a free snowboard and some boots for next year? It just kept snowballing after that. 90-91, I had an opportunity to go to the Canadian Nationals in Lake Louise. My grandma ended up flying me and my mom out there. My first time to a real mountain, my first time riding powder, and I ended up getting 4th. The next year was in Quebec for the Canadian Nationals in Rimouski, and I got 3rd. And then it came out to Whistler for 93, and I ended up winning in 93. I ended up going to the US Open the year after when I was 16, and I ended up placing 9th, just ahead of Noah Selaznick, who got 10th, and I was riding his board at the time, and so obviously Sims was all stoked. Flew me down to Argentina for the Sims photo shoot that summer. 16 years old and you're hanging out with all your heroes and dream come true, you know. When I first moved out here, I was actually still doing some snowboard competitions.
Kale took, his level of riding from the half pipe into the backcountry, and that's what he evolved into.
I phased out of that real quick as soon as I got a taste of good POW and snowmobiling. It was just a whole different world than what I was used to traveling around half-pipe competitions. The freedom of being out there with, all your crew, your boys, we're out there on snowmobiles. We were kind of like the first generation of people to, start doing that, just new terrain on snowmobiles. Like, holy look at where we can go. Just by chance, I was out there filming for the new MacDog video. Somehow I just landed 3 tricks in a row off this cornice, and they used them in the MacDog video that year. So I had a little mini 3-trick part, and that got me in the door for next year.
When it comes to video, at this point it's all he knows. He's been doing it since he was a teenager, and when snow starts flying, he goes, I wonder what video I'm going to film for. It's not like, I wonder what else I might want to do this year. It's like, that's what he's going to do.
What made Kale stick out really is the fact that he was pretty fearless. He would go big, he had good style, and he tried really hard tricks. So he was like, at the time, he was, I thought, one of the best snowboarders in the backcountry around, really.
For Second Wind, we really started trying to see how big we could go and finding bigger jumps, and it was really cool to just see how fast you could come into a jump and with control.
Yeah, working with Kale, it was great because besides the fact that he was hardly ever on time, He was just an asset in the backcountry. He was, you know, super strong sledder. He hit big stuff, so when you shot something with Kale, you usually, if he landed it, it was an A shot.
Kale Stephens, everything he touches, he goes full on.
On a jump, he's the fastest guy hitting it. You know, he's got no fear of speed whatsoever.
Kale is one of the few guys that you'd build this like really big jump, and he was the guy that was never really scared to hit it. He was like excited to hit it, you know, like, and you know, jumping through the air for him was really fun.
There's no, I'm gonna take it easy on this one, you know, it's all full throttle. You're like, oh man, he just had the biggest bail, but then the next day you'll see him in the backcountry, you would think most people would be dead riding with him, and it just shows you how you can just, it makes you charge more, makes you, you know, go for it.
I had a snowmobile accident where I chopped my nose off back in '03. It was obviously pretty harsh and bad, but
All I can say is the guy ripped his nose off, had it reattached, and was snowboarding a week later.
I think that really got my name out there a lot and kind of gave my career a little extra jump start.
He's always seeing the positive things of things before seeing the negative, I think. You know, he's been through a lot in his life, and it's always with a smile.
He just was so good at like going huge, and he can hit jumps that like some people could never figure out, you know? But Kale would be like, oh, it's pretty fun, you know, I'll keep hitting it.
Me and Chris Brown were up sledding one day up Brandywine and started talking like, why the hell don't we have a hole in our bandana so we can breathe? So next day I went down to the government office in Squamish and went and registered the name Airhole.
He's got his sewing machine and he's got his serger and he sets it up there beside Grandma in his living room. And at night he just comes up with all these crazy ideas, you know, different masks and different fits. And
it's just nice to be involved with something that we started and, you know, actually seeing it come to life.
Kale is insane. Like, anybody that knows Kale is so lucky to know that dude. Like, the stuff that happens when you're around him, or just the stuff that he does on a daily basis, is insane. Just his way of life is great.
Well, it's just always a comedy with Kale. He's just pinned all the time. He's, you know, pinning in his truck, loading, unloading, you know, and when he snowmobiles, it's like, it's scary to watch him. He just pins it up everything, down everything, and yeah, and he snowboards the same way. He was just strong. He was strong when he was a little kid. I mean, I think that had a lot to do with how, you know, how he rode. He was just, he was strong enough to take a beating. And
like, we hit perfect jump a bunch of years ago, and he's like, oh, I'm gonna do a front 10 tail. But you know that he's never done a front 10 tail before in his life. Like, he doesn't ride the park or whatever, and then just boom, front 10 tail. Like, that's just how he like operates.
it doesn't matter if somebody's gonna pay him to do it, he's still gonna do it. And that is the best thing about the guy. He loves to snowboard, he loves to snowmobile, he loves to be in the mountains.
I can still see myself doing this when I'm 40, 45, 50.
So I'm extremely proud of him to actually be a legend, you know.
To me, you know, if you can have fun, enjoy yourself, help other people enjoy themselves, that's, you know, that's like one of the main parts of what life's about to me, you know, enjoyment. And, you know, playing with remote control trucks and jumping them, or, you know, jumping snowmobiles, or doing donuts in a truck, like anything that can bring me enjoyment. I'm not gonna quit doing that type of, you know, just because I'm getting older, you know. I'm gonna be a big kid for life.